I'm not sure what is true about a couple of episodes in her life that I've heard really nothing about. And one is her high school years in Canada. And I think any adult looking back will concede that high school is the period that forms you more than any other. And that period in her life was spent, unless I'm misremembering, in Montreal, Canada.
Right. A huge part of her life was spent in Montreal. And so you're kind of alienated from any sort of your upbringing. So she's definitely alienated from San Francisco and the Berkeley environment where she was raised, kind of brought to a similar location, academic neighborhood, high middle class, I believe. You know, it was not a working or middle class neighborhood.
In Montreal.
In Montreal.
Yeah.
And she was the product. She went to school with, you know, a lot of elites in the country and was certainly aware of what was going on. But she was sort of alienated from the overall American experience, right?
Well, yeah. So she did spend her high school years in Canada.
Right. And she might have gone home to California for some of the summers. I think there's evidence that she did so to visit her dad on a couple occasions, but I don't think she spent much time there.
Did she graduate high school in Canada?
I think so. And then
she's Canadian. I mean, why are we playing? I'm serious. Like, why are we pretending? It's like Obama, who grew up in Indonesia. And Hawaii. I don't understand why everyone seems to be ignoring the obvious. You know, you are formed by your years in high school. And so she's basically
Well, she was very inspired
Canadian.
by people in her life, people who were in California, to go to Howard. This is definitely a product of Kamala Harris seeking to sort of seize on an identity by going to Howard in D.C. as, you know, this historically Black university, and really sort of embracing that identity and using that as she moved back to California and went to law school in California and sort of jumped into the legal world.
Yeah, the parallel, Obama is a much smarter and more talented, I think, than Kamala Harris. But there is a similarity in that both of them have these rootless childhoods, not their fault, of course, broken families, pretty tragic family situation for both of them. And both of them, and neither one of them has anything to do with American Black culture at all, either genetically or culturally. They have just nothing to do with it. And both of them decide to become American Black people.
Right. That's why she brings up who she calls her second mother a lot. She was raised by her single mom, who was always at work. And then in the same building, there was a person who ran a daycare center, Miss Shelton. And this is the woman who is actually from the Black South.
So is this the woman she referred to?
This is the woman she refers to as her second mother, who's a small business owner. So this is the woman she was talking about in her speech. Yes. I was totally confused. Right.
So who is this woman?
This is Regina Shelton. She ran a daycare business in the same building as their apartment. And she helps raise the children while mom's at work. And so she describes this woman as her second mother. And this is the mother who's connected with the Black South that took Kamala to, Kamala talks about her taking them to a Christian Black church and even, she says, they sang in the choir at this church. And so whenever she's in a place where she's speaking to the Black church, she refers to this experience. Whereas when she was running for office in California, her mother...
she went to a Black church once.
All the time, apparently, according to Kamala.
Got it.
But at the same time, when they were doing magazine articles with Kamala Harris's real mother, she said that, and they were speaking to certain audiences, her real mother said that she grew up in the Hindu temple and practiced all of the traditions and believed in all the Hindu religious practices.
So she was actually a polytheist in childhood.
Right. And when she first starts running for office, there's a couple incidents where she starts referring to this Hindu goddess. And she uses this Hindu goddess, I think it's Parvati, who is she's both a vengeful warrior and also someone who's very loving. And so she refers to this goddess as someone who inspired her career decision to get into law enforcement and justice. So
what?
Yeah. So she
a goddess?
Yes. Hindu goddess inspired her to get into justice. Someone who can be both a vengeful goddess, but also a caring and loving goddess.
Was she suggesting that this goddess was real?
Right. This character in the mythology of the Hindu religion.
I don't think it's considered mythology. I think it's considered real.
Oh, if you truly believe in.
Well, yeah, if you're a Hindu,
right.
I don't think you think it's fake. I think you think it's real.
It's unclear.
And it may be entirely real, by the way.
Right.
But from a Christian perspective, that's demonic. So, no, I'm not kind of taking sides, though I have an opinion.
Clearly.
But obviously, but as a theological matter, those couldn't be more incompatible with each other. Like you can't.
Unless you're running for political office, right? Then you can take
but those are the opposites. That's like saying, it's like, going to a PETA conference in the morning and, cattle rancher conference in the afternoon and saying, I love you both. Like, that's just not possible.
But those are the best politicians that can do that, right?
Yes, you're right. Okay, you covered the White House for a long time. You're more cynical than I am. Okay, that's just interesting. So she said she was inspired by a goddess.
Right, a Hindu goddess to...
Again, from a Christian perspective, a demon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what Christians think.
Right.
I guess in the end,
but she also sang in the Black Choir and about justice and learned about justice and loving thy neighbor.
Was she a cantor in her synagogue too? Do you know?
I don't know. Maybe that's Doug's role. Although I don't know if he goes to synagogue very much.
I don't think so. Okay, amazing. Has she ever talked about the Canadian part of her childhood?
No, not much.
Oh,
yeah. That definitely came from her mother in some of her earliest profiles, back when they were just running for her first office as district attorney.
Yeah.
And trying to make the case that she was a real, genuine person who really wanted the job and had an cultural identity that was close with San Francisco and really made the best case for her as she was sort of running for office.
And she mentioned Canada then?
No, Canada was not in the...
But the goddess
preferred
stuff
version.
Was.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, for sure.
Amazing. So the Howard University years, did she participate at all politically at Howard that we know of?
Well, she has a photo, right, of her protesting at some march on Washington, but that's pretty much the extent of it. She also interned on Capitol Hill with the senator. But other than that, there doesn't seem to be very much political
Democratic
activity going
senator.
on. She's a Democratic senator. And it's very clear that she's really just enjoying being at college, as most of us were when we were in college, just enjoying being at college. And I don't think the activist streak was very strong back then.
So I think the first time that most Americans who are not from California noticed Kamala Harris was during the Kavanaugh hearings.
Right. But even before that, when she won in 2016, she was sort of one of the small victories for women at a time when their greatest champion, Hillary Clinton, was vanquished by, at the time, Donald Trump.
Right.
And so when she declares victory in 2016, her race for Senate, she tears up her speech and delivers something entirely different, really trying to inspire and encourage everybody who's watching and vow to be the next great fighter who's going to go to Washington, D.C. and sort of stop Donald Trump. That's kind of her first message. And one of the very first things she does.
Was that election night?
Yeah, election night in November 2016.
Did she ad-lib that speech?
No, I think she and her staff went behind the scenes and rewrote it.
Yeah.
Yeah, very quickly because they saw that things were not going well for the Democratic Party.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.